Here we are, Chapter 10, The Idols of Sickness. This is the introduction. Chapter 10 is the shortest in the text, as well as the only chapter that presents the theme of separation in the unique way it does. It should be obvious by now that while each of the chapters in effect says the same thing, the course's common themes are presented with many variations. It is interesting to see the different manner in which Jesus develops these themes and variations, integrating them into the glorious whole that is his symphonic text. In the Idols of Sickness, we find a variation on the first two biblical commandments in which God says to Moses, "I am the Lord thy God. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, idols, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God." Exodus 20:3-5. In A Course in Miracles, the idea of not having false gods before our source refers to the insane attempt to make an idol of the ego, worshiping its thought system of separation. Before this special self that is our identity, we prostrate ourselves and build shrines to honor its existence. We celebrate its birth and mourn its death, slavishly devoting our lives to its well-being. A passage from chapter 4, which we did not cite at the time, refers to this first commandment. "Thou shalt have no other gods before him, because there are none." This is the principle of the atonement, that the separation from God never happened. It is impossible to have false gods because a part of God cannot separate from himself. Perfect wholeness cannot be anything other than perfect wholeness. Perfect love can only be itself. God is, and there is nothing else. We have repeatedly seen this non-dualistic principle of heaven. The idea there can be a self independent of God is part of a dualistic system that must be illusory, being the opposite of heaven's oneness. We can recognize in this subtle critique of the commandments one of the most important Gnostic aspects of A Course in Miracles. Gnosticism was a philosophical religious movement whose Christian form flowered in the 1st and 2nd centuries. It gradually died out, largely due to the onslaughts of the Church, which, striving to preserve its identity as the Christian institution, launched scathing attacks on the group they considered to be a threat, accusing them of teaching heresy. For the Gnostics, the biblical deity was an impostor, the Course's ego, and they asked the obvious question: how could the true and perfect God have anything to do with this most imperfect world? Jesus, of course, echoes their sentiments here. According to the ego, this Gnostic-like betrayal of false gods is an attack on our Creator, labeled as sin. And so the Old Testament deity, the source of these commandments, takes it as one. He states he is a jealous God, Exodus 25, and says in effect, "Woe unto you who build idols and worship them." Yet the truth is that this is not an attack on God at all, but only on ourselves, for we pay guilt's price for believing we can sinfully place other gods, the idols of specialness, before our source. These are the gods we worship, build altars to, and actually believe we serve. It is therefore not God who suffers, but we. Another important aspect of idols that we see here and in succeeding chapters is that they are worshipped both from within the mind and without the body. From within, which is the mind, and without the body. The original idol is the ego that we have made real and identified with, and whose thought system is emblazoned on our minds. It tells us that separation from God is true and constitutes an attack for which He will punish us. Because of our fear of God's vengeance, the mind projects its guilt and makes the world, worshiping the idols that seem to be outside us. All these are nothing more than projections of the original idol, the ego we decided was our friend and self. In chapters to come, we shall see that these idols refer to the projections known as special relationships. Those bodies we think we love, special love partners, and those we love to hate, special hate partners. The latter is a major idol of the body's worship, the persons we have overtly judged as sinful so that our sin can be magically perceived in them, sparing ourselves God's vengeful wrath. We shall devote considerable discussion to this theme because it is the foundation of the current chapter and a key element in Jesus' presentation of the ego thought system. Understanding these projections is the prerequisite for moving beyond its illusory nature to the truth.